just a little runaway. 47 years and still I'm on the run. Afraid of love, I'm keeping God at bay. Spending days in a nightmare ain't much fun. I am just a little runaway. For my misery, always blaming someone else. I'm really into judgment and delay, but only hurting me and I and myself.
Hi, all you angels out there. This is Calico, and this is Beyond the Body. You know, I feel like there's going to be a shift in some of the Beyond the Bodies in the future with guests, and there's a special Beyond the Body that's coming up with two really special guests, but you'll have to just keep tuning back in to see who they are. And today, I feel like, the past week and a half, there has been a very big clearing for me. Oh, just with really seeing all the various and sundry loose ends of my life, and how they all fit together perfectly, and how the projection called Calico and the life called Calico has been divinely inspired. And I want to share something today, and I invite all of you to take on that in your life that feels wrong. You know, my life would be perfect if I had enough money and the right relationship and the perfect house or whatever. But there's usually some big stumbling block. For me, it was foreclosure initially, and then the diagnosis of cancer really kind of pushed me into being a rocket for God, as David Hoffmeister shared in one of the Sunday programs. Those big things in our lives can actually be the impetus to really project us into the awakening at a very high speed if we're willing. And I'm going to share a little bit about a willingness today, because I really came across a lesson in my life that really kind of shows this. So I'm going to share first off a quote from David, because this kind of says it all about what I'm going to be sharing today. This is a quote from David Hoffmeister. "The sleeping mind would rather remain tiny and call forth a witness of sickness to prove that it is right about its tininess." And I'm going to try and do this again without stuttering. "The sleeping mind would rather remain tiny and call forth a witness of sickness to prove that it is right about its tininess." Okay. So, God, it was about a week and a half ago. There are a couple parts to this. I follow guidance, and I take that. You know, usually when I don't see the guidance, it's actually even more important that I follow it. And here in community, we have a gift with people. When we're confused, others can see clearly. And there was some guidance about taking a post down that I had put on Facebook. And I just need to say, Facebook is a fabulous tool to awaken with. And it landed. It just landed funny, and there were these thoughts like, "You're wrong. How dare you ask me to remove a post? I'm right." You know, those were the gist of it. And the reality was, I followed the direction, the guidance, took the post down, and didn't give it a whole lot of other thought. I just kind of let it go. And then that same day, and the lesson was, it can be but me that I crucify. How appropriate. Later that day, on A Course in Miracles group in Facebook, there were two posts that flashed through my feed, and they hooked me big time. and they had the lesson on the picture. It can be myself that I crucify. And the picture was of a well-oiled female body with big breasts and nipples coming through the very small bra that was there. And I liken these posts to, I'm sure you've all been to a mechanic at one time or another, and in the far back corner of the garage is a very greasy sink, and makes you want to take a shower, and right above the sink is usually a calendar with some of these images on it. So these were two images. As soon as this one man posted one, then someone else posted another and said love, 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 and I was so hooked by it, and there were a lot of comments, and I just let it. I thought, no, don't go there, Calico. That's not gonna give you, there's no cheese, leave it alone. But this is the trick. If you can start seeing how those thoughts start looping, and this one started looping big time, it wouldn't leave me alone. I was on to other functions, but I'd come back thinking about it, and I was just angry. It's like, man, that's just wrong, And there were several comments from new course students that were saying, I'm leaving this group, and then you could see that they were no longer a part of the group, and that even got me more incited. It's like, oh my God, we're posting stuff that's actively, pushing people away. But now here's the trick. I could see I was looping with it, and it wasn't just going away, which is a good thing. And everything is for my good. Everything is for my good. And so I went back to it, and I mentioned Spiri before. I kind of do Spiri in my head anymore, but Spiri, your personal spiritual assistant, you can hook up with it online. I'll try to remember to put a link here for you. Anyway, do a Spiri, because it'll actually take whatever content you're looping with and allow you to see the turnaround of the gift for you, because you're projecting it. And I was definitely projecting this, and I was definitely hooked by it, and I wanted to make it very wrong. So I did a Spiri in my head, and it was, I hate men. I just hate men. And then I kind of had some flashes through my life, parables of Calico. And there was a great amount of abuse. The last rape was a gang rape in college, and I was chained to a toilet seat, and a male security guard unclipped me. There was a woman in the next stall too, but they cut the chain, and we were taken in separate cars and dropped off at our dorm. And I made that mean so much, because it wasn't long after that I quit school temporarily and moved. I was living on the East Coast, and I moved to Arizona. Never been to Arizona, had no desire to go to Arizona, other than that's why I picked it. I had never been there before, and I wanted to go someplace that I'd never ever been before. And so I went out there and met other angry women that had their own abuse issues. And interestingly enough, I'm currently living in La Casa de Milagros, the House of Miracles. And a group of us angry women in Phoenix got together and started the Center Against Sexual Assault, CASA. So I've got CASA at both ends, from sexual assault to the House of Miracles. And so, again, it wasn't healed. These thoughts weren't healed because I was angry. So as life presented itself, and about 15 years into, I became a lesbian at that time. In fact, all of us that started CASA kind of, you look better than most other dateable prospects out there, so we all started to, get sexually active. And then 15 years later, I was doing a course with Werner Erhard, and he asked us all a question. And the question was this: what lies do you tell about yourself? And one of the lies that I popped up almost immediately was, I'm a lesbian. And I thought about that for a long time. It was like, am I a lesbian because I truly love women, or am I a lesbian to avoid men? And so, given that I've seen my life as a game from the get-go, I decided to take it on and just date exclusively men to see if there was a difference. So the next 15 years of my life, I dated men. And I've had beautiful relationships with both men and women. It means nothing. You know, it's just part of the whole process that we go through. And whether it's with a man or a woman, or a man turning to a woman or a woman turning to a man, it doesn't matter. And there was a turning point that I kind of decided there was no cheese in the relationship. This whole idea of awakening or really coming to God wasn't going to be through some relationship. And this is just for me. Everybody's parable is different. Holy Spirit will use whatever. But for me, and it ended, I can tell you the last time I had sex with another human being was September 11th, 2001. The guy I was with had been with for a while, and very much in love with him. He was my fantasy. He was the ultimate fantasy. He was a tender, liberal cowboy, my kind of guy. And we had a lot in common, and we loved each other, or so I thought. So we made love that morning, and then we turned the TV on, and we saw the trade towers come down. And I think that really moved a lot of people into high gear with their awakening program. And it did for me. We went on with our day, and then we met up for lunch, and at lunch he shared with me that he was in love with someone else. And it landed very differently this time. I wasn't angry. There was some upset, but nothing major. And I really got, I drove him back to his house to drop him off. And I said exactly what I needed to hear. Exactly what I needed to hear. And as he was getting out of the car, I said, I hope you find that which makes you happy. And I never saw him again, but I heard that. And I was like, okay, game on. And from there, I took a decade off and moved into the mountains, and it was really running away from myself. I called it my chop wood, carry water period of time. Very reclusive, it was beautiful. I had a beautiful time, but I really was isolating rather than joining. I kind of gave up on the world, and it's like, okay, it's not men, it's not women, people are mean to each other all the time. Look what happened with the trade towers. And so there was a resignation that I left the world with. And it was during this time that I projected cancer on this form. And the cancer was uterine. And I just need to give in my days as a chiropractor, I used to keep this little book by my table that I worked on people. And it was Louise Hay's, Heal the Body, Heal Thy Body, I think it is. Little tiny book. And in there it just gave you, different organ systems and skin and things that you might have trouble with in form. And it gave the emotional equivalent. And I remember uterus is home. It's, it's my home. It's my light, my warmth, my heater, my nurturer. And so when I projected uterine cancer and had all of it removed, it's like, it was like, okay, I'm not a woman, I'm not a man, I'm just, wanting to find God. And so I'm saying all this, and now I'm going to go back and reread this quote from David. The sleeping mind would rather remain tiny and call forth a witness of sickness to prove that it is right about its tininess. And if you've watched any of the previous shows, you saw me deal a lot with my form, just my form, and that seems to have cleared up mostly, of just feeling too big. I walk in a room, I can't be undercover, I can't hide, I'm just too big. And this has been kind of an ongoing thing my whole life. You know, if I just lose 5 pounds, I'd be happy. You know, and this is, we all have these ideas in mind. If only this would take place, I'd be happy. Or if I could do this in order to lose 5 pounds, I would be happy. And so my whole life has been spent around particularly the idea of form. If I could somehow manipulate it into a different form, I would be happy. So during this decade of chopping wood and carrying water and seeing a projection of stage 4 uterine cancer, it got my attention, and it was, you know, had a complete hysterectomy, and realized, God, what is that about, pulling out my uterus, you know, and seeing it as diseased. And then I kind of put it together with this whole life called Calico, which is really the reason for this program. The sleeping mind would rather remain tiny and call forth a witness of sickness to prove that it is right about its tininess. And it was like, oh my God. So I'll go back to the posts in the A Course in Miracles group and seeing these pictures and initially getting very angry at men. You know, men, yeah, this is what they do. It's like there are exceptions, and I'll just try and stick with the exceptions and ignore the others. But you see, and this all leads into me being asked to take a post down. So the one thing, I didn't get engaged in the comments on it, but I did send a note to the administrators of the group saying, yeah, maybe you should take this down. There are newbies leaving, you know, it's kind of causing some upset. And then I thought about being asked to take my post down, and it's like, everything is for my good. Everything is for my good. And so it's okay, so this is for my good. Being asked to take a post down and seeing a post that hooked me. So I did a little experience ahead. Okay, so I hate men. One of the turnarounds of that is I hate women. And I thought about it, and I thought, well, I have from time to time. Yeah. And then that immediately opened up into this, I hate me. And it was like, oh my God. And you have to understand, this was a very emotional thing. Tears will come up, but it's not like getting stuck in an upset. It's like really moving through it. You've brought this situation to the light to see it differently with Holy Spirit through the eyes of God, and God just loves. So when I got to this point of really seeing I hate me, I quite frankly was laughing at this point, because it's like, wow, how's that working for you, Calico? It seems like that's kind of a hard one to work through if you don't love yourself. And then just seeing how it all put together, it's like, well, I've been killing myself off from the first diet I ever put myself on to lose 5 pounds. I've been killing myself off. I've wanted myself to be different. And it really wasn't until I was able to really get to this core belief of I hate me, and always have, and I've never been good enough, and I never will be good enough. And I said on a last program, the laws of chaos, that unless you're willing to see things differently, the laws of chaos are constantly going to be playing and having an effect on your life, and which has certainly been my entire life. So I just share this with you to kind of see if there is something up for you. Maybe this is your opportunity to take it on and see it differently with the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit only loves. God only loves. Nothing else. And if I'm making something wrong, and I know that God only loves, then I've either got to kill God off or kill me off. And that's what this whole thing with cancer has been about. It's like, time to kill you off, because obviously this is just too much for me to make peace with. And the reality is, and I really am so grateful for being in community, because I've got so many mighty companions that can see me as love when I can't. And it's a huge gift, huge gift. So with that, I just want to say, yesterday I had the beautiful gift of joining with, I'm seeing there's a lot of light coming through here. Oh well, it is what it is. It's we're working on the technology and the lighting and all that. Anyway, we're working on, and I'm not going to give out a whole lot because I'm saving that for a program. We're going to have these two people come on a show, and we can introduce it then. But there's something really wonderful that's going to happen through Living Miracles, and I'm going to be a part of it, and I have been a part of it, and I'm very excited. And so all of you that are struggling out there, particularly those that think they're sick, oh, this one's going to be for you. So you have to tune in. I think the next couple of shows may be addressing, hard to say what's, but food and food-related dysfunction as it relates to hating the body, and we'll see how it all plays out. But I'm very excited about some of the direction that we'll be moving into with Beyond the Body and health and healing and how we relate to the body and all of that. So for now, I just want you to know that you are loved. I mean, if there was one thing to take away with this show, know you're loved. And if that causes conflict in you in any way, take that to spirit, to see it differently. Because the truth is, we are nothing but love. We just forgot. And I'm grateful to the two men that posted those shots, because it really dragged up a lot of beliefs for me that were ready to be healed. And yeah, so that's always a good thing. And everything is for my good. Everything is for my good. So yeah, with that, I just need to say I love you all, and I hope that you can find the love you are in this moment. So bye for now, everybody. Have a great moment, and until the next episode of Beyond the Body, be joyous. Find something to laugh at, even if it's just yourself. Bye all. Love you, because I love me. That's nice.
It was just a tiny mad idea at which the Son of God